Sergeant Drake observed with a mix of curiosity and doubt as the newest human consultant entered the busy military command post. The human stood tall among the towering armored Novans, his pale pink skin and sparse hair marking him as unmistakably different. Colonel Satron had assured Drake of the human's abilities, emphasizing his unparalleled tactical expertise. "Greetings," said the human, his universal translator converting his words into the Nova language. "I am Lieutenant John Walker. I look forward to advising your battalion." The staff officers murmured among themselves. Drake made a respectful gesture toward a fellow warrior. "What battlefield experience do you have?" he asked. "Your soft skin suggests you've never faced combat." The other soldiers chuckled. Walker smiled, revealing his small teeth. "I served 2 tours fighting insurgents on a planet called Mars. Lost many good friends there." Drake tilted his antenna, regret in his expression. "My condolences. I should not have assumed. Most sentients dislike combat and avoid military service, yet you volunteered, though you appear so fragile. Why?" Before Drake could ask further, alarms blared. He checked his command pad. "Heavy enemy activity on the perimeter. Report to your stations. The enemy is testing our defenses before a major offensive." Chaos erupted as soldiers rushed to monitors and communication equipment. Maps appeared above the central hollow table, showing waves of red enemy contacts approaching the base. Lieutenant Walker observed calmly. Drake opened a channel. "Perimeter units, report." The first response came from Sentry Tower 3. Heavy fire, multiple breaches, then silence. More red indicators blinked out around the perimeter. "They've ambushed our sensors," Drake said. "What's their strategy?" He checked updates from long-range recon units, but the latest intel was now useless. Walker leaned over the table, eyes scanning the maps. "May I?" Drake nodded. Walker called up a new tactical overlay. Based on the timing of the attacks, the enemy captured these sensor towers instead of destroying them. That lets them feed false data, concealing their forces here. He highlighted an area that had appeared empty moments before. Drake turned toward the human. "Are you certain?" "It's what I would do in their position," Walker replied. "A tactic insurgents often used back on Earth. Shall we reposition our anti-armor units?" "Do it," Drake ordered. This alien indeed had sharp instincts. Officers scrambled to execute his rapid suggestions. Walker may have seemed physically weak, but his mind was precise. Soon warnings arrived. The main gates had fallen. The last external cameras showed hordes of armored infantry swarming the base, cruelty in their eyes. These were no conscripts. They relished the fight. The command center's shields shuttered closed, and defensive positions were reinforced. Inside the halls, soldiers waited tensely. Most went silent, for tight against their bodies, sensing death in the air. The acrid stench of explosives and scorched metal traveled through ventilators alongside the screams of the dying. Lieutenant Walker alone seemed unfazed. He hummed an alien tune under his breath while checking barricade scopes. Noticing Drake's gaze, he shrugged. "Years on Earth battlefields. This brings back memories." Drake considered him. "Your worlds must breed hardened soldiers." "True," Walker said. "Maybe after this fight, I'll tell you about jungle gorillas on Earth. They use surprise and cunning as weapons, more devastating than any plasma cannon. Compared to them, these amateurs seem less frightening." Drake let out a harsh laugh. This human kept showing unusual courage. Drake clicked his claws in a gesture of respect. "You honor your species. Perhaps we might prevail yet." "Then let's give them some surprises," Walker said with a fierce grin. Minutes later, the first assault crashed against their barricades. The enemy excelled at close-quarters combat, but Walker had prepared overlapping fields of fire to pin them down. He took over the gunnery controls, spraying plasma bursts with ruthless precision. The enemy advance became a slaughter. A few warriors broke through by sacrificing dozens of their own. Walker stood in their path, sidearm drawn. Two fell to clean shots between the eyes before reacting. The third froze, bewildered at the seemingly defenseless human holding off battle-hardened killers. In that moment, Walker drove a blow to a weak joint at the neck, dropping the soldier instantly. Seeing Walker stand firm gave the Novan troops courage. "For the home world!" they cried, surging into a counterattack. Enemy warriors faltered, their ferocity fading against a unified defense. With sword and strategy, Drake realized they might repel the attack. Then explosions shook the command center. "Breach!" came the call. Internal sensors showed figures moving, likely a demolition team targeting critical systems. "I'll delay them," Walker said, racking his pistol. "Get back down here." Drawing a compact Novan combat knife, he rushed out alone. Drake feared the human without armor stood no chance. There was no time to argue with the brave, if reckless, warrior. The security feed showed Walker moving down the corridor, hugging the walls. He paused just short of an intersection, watching his motion scanner. Two hostiles rounded the corner. He struck with inhuman speed. The knife drove deep into one's throat. The choking enemy sagged to the floor. Walker snatched a plasma rifle and fired point-blank through the second soldier's faceplate. Both crashed down, vital fluids spilling onto the deck. Another squad advanced along the perpendicular hall. Walker lobbed a primed grenade to flush them out, following the explosion with streams of searing plasma. Another trio fell, while return fire missed the dodging human. He ejected the spent heat sink, slapping in a fresh one before the next wave arrived. His fluid movements spoke of decades surviving firefights. Every alien now fixed on the security feed as Lieutenant Walker held the corridor alone. Stage by stage, he fell back, stopping at intersections to set ambushes that left more foes dead. His sustained fire pinned the demolition team in an unfinished junction until reinforcements arrived. When Drake's troops finally reached him, they found 15 enemy corpses littering the passageways. Walker leaned casually against a door frame, grenades and ammo within reach, barely winded. "Took you boys long enough," he said. "Saved a few live ones for questioning." With deliberate menace, he loaded a fresh clip into his pistol and gripped the knife again. Even hardened Novan warriors gave him a wide berth. Together, they advanced through the smoldering halls, rooting out the remaining infiltrators. Walker seemed to know every ambush point, every blind spot. He grinned wildly whenever a firefight erupted, his shots never missing. Prisoners survived only because he allowed it. His manner shifted from analytical to bloodthirsty the closer he closed to melee range. 5 grueling hours later, the all-clear sounded across the command center. Fewer than a third of their defenders could still walk, but the enemy had been shattered against the walls. Anointed with blood by skill and spirit, they had prevailed. Officers and troopers gathered around their savior, covered in sapphire stains, clothes charred by plasma fire. Lieutenant Walker let his men strip weapons and gear while rubbing sore limbs, more annoyed by pulled muscles than shrapnel bites. When offered medical care, he waved medics off. "Patch up your own first. I've endured worse than these scratches." Someone brought cleansing water and nutrient rations. Walker gulped the meal, recounting specific close-quarters fights to his fascinated audience. He compared spiritual tattoos and ritual scars with the alien warriors, seeming fully part of the pack. His demeanor swung wildly between playful jokes and enthusiastic descriptions of violence. Watching the frightening yet charismatic predator among them, Drake could believe this human had been forged by battle, able to match any Novan. "You've more than proven your skill and courage today," Drake finally said. "The Galactic Alliance's faith in your kind was not misplaced." Walker gave a grim smile. "I'm just glad I could keep my new comrades alive." He raised a drink in salute. "You fight well for amateurs. Stick with me, and someday you may even graduate to professionals." That night, their unit bonded, united by trauma and triumph. Rumors soon spread across Roya and beyond of the undersized, unarmored, undergunned human who held off an invading force that should have overwhelmed him. Instead, they broke against his uncanny insight, leaving only corpses behind. Commanders clamored for human advisors to join the endless interplanetary war, bringing experience from brutal battlefields the Novans were only beginning to comprehend. Mankind had tempered itself through endless conflict among its fractious nations. Now united at last, humans unleashed their full combat potential across the stars. The Galactic Alliance had hoped these clever newcomers would serve in support roles, but after witnessing humans in full fury, grizzled old soldiers like Sergeant Drake knew better.